Hey guys, welcome back. It is time for another reaction video, and this looks like it's going to be a little bit of reaction inception. And I say that because I'm going to be reacting to someone else reacting to. uh, I'm from Texas, I'm from Houston, and so this is German reacts to 10 shocking things about Texas driving. Fun fact, I also worked for a defensive driving company for 5, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. And I helped to develop a lot of the online course and the curriculum for that company. So I'll be curious to see if there's some stuff in here that I'm not aware of, or maybe it's new to me. But yeah, let's jump straight into it. And if you like this guy Chris, the channel is Chris Reacts. So if you like his content, make sure you head on over to his channel and check out some of his content as well. I will have the link to this video in my description below. Let's get into it.
That is your speed limit? What? Hi and welcome back to another video about one of my favorite states in the United States, because he's so big, so different, and I met so many nice people from there, and it is Texas. And today we are discovering 10 shocking things I learned driving around Texas for 4 months. I'm very curious to see what you can, or what shocking you can see about Texas just with driving around. But before we do that, please make sure to hit a like and a subscribe. We are very close to the 58,000 subscribers.
For a minute there, it threw me off. I realized that the original title of the video he's reacting to is things I learned driving around Texas for 4 months. And for a minute there, I thought he had been to Texas and he was going over his experiences. Okay, I'm on track now.
It would be awesome if you hit them. And if you want to see more, then you can check out my Patreon. Link is in the description, and now let's go.
So earlier this year, I spent around 4 months in the great state of Texas. Now, Texas is quite the unique place. It definitely has its own culture and way of doing things, particularly when it comes to traffic and transportation. So in this video, I want to talk about 10 of the strangest traffic-related things I've discovered.
Is this something that you see quite often, that you have just, such a lane through grass?
It happens mostly when there is like an accident or traffic backs up and people are trying to get off the freeway. However, that one's pretty well broken in dirt paths, so it makes me wonder, wherever this is, people must do it quite often. But if you get caught by the cops, you will get pulled over for it.
Video, I want to talk about 10 of the strangest traffic related things I've discovered while traveling around Texas. Welcome to the channel. I'm Melvin Maya, civil engineer turned full-time traveler. Like the video, subscribe if you love it, and let's talk about the Lone Star State. The first thing on this list is the frontage roads. Frontage roads are these access roads that parallel most of the freeways around Texas. You may have seen them in other states, so they're not entirely unique to Texas, but no other place builds nearly as many as Texas does.
We also sometimes refer to them as the feeder road.
More in-depth video on frontage roads that I'll link in the description, but generally these were built to provide access along the frontage of highways, hence the name frontage roads. As you notice with freeways without frontage roads, any business that sits adjacent to the freeway does not have direct access to it, usually reserving most development for the crossing roads near the exits. But with frontage roads, you'll often see development lined up and down the freeway here in Texas. Frontage roads do have their pros and cons, which I go over in more detail on the frontage roads video in the description. So we'll move on to the next.
So those frontage roads are more like highways in a kind, that you don't have like so many entrances and more than have like smaller roads that go through them. Have I understood that right, or understood that right?
I think he's confusing it. So basically the frontage road or the feeder road runs parallel to the highway or the freeway. And you can usually get on every mile if you're in the city. So I'm in Houston, Texas. So the mile markers, or the exit numbers, I should say, the exit numbers are usually 1 mile apart. And so they're also the mile marker, but that's not always true, because sometimes there might be more than one exit within a mile. But the feeder road basically runs beside it, so you can easily get on the freeway and off the freeway.
No, tell me in the comments.
Traffic oddity. And frontage roads leads us right into number 2, and that is the good old Texas turnaround. You know how in most states, if you're on a freeway and you want to turn around, then you get off on your exit, drive over to the other side, and exit back onto the main roadway? And that's just if you so happen to be near a simple diamond interchange. Well, In Texas, with its frontage roads, there's something called a Texas turnaround. These are
Mm-hmm.
U-turn movements that you can find off almost all frontage roads where they intersect the crossing road. In Texas, you don't have to wait or wonder where your next chance.
I don't I don't know if the proper term is maybe the turnaround. I don't even think that I recall using that in like the defensive driving course. We just call it a U-turn because it's literally like shaped like a U. You can even see it right here on the little lane marker. So we don't really call it a Texas turnaround or a turnaround. It's typically just referred to as a U-turn.
Turnaround is you can just get off on just about any frontage road and know
That's
that at some
great.
point you can ride on a fancy old Texas turnaround to reach the other
That's
side of the
cool.
road or to make that
I
U-turn
had
back.
something like this in Malaysia. We in Germany don't have that at all. You have, if you are on a highway or something like this, you miss like your exit. Damn. Be along for a ride for at least 30 minutes
Oh
of
wow.
a detour, because there can be no exit or no really good exit for at least 15 minutes sometimes.
The only time you might run into that is if you are driving more long distance, but even still, there's usually like a break somewhere that you could turn around. All of our race highways and freeways, there's typically an exit almost every mile.
Back onto the freeway. The Texas turnaround is actually a very unique part of the Texas frontage road design that you don't find on the frontage roads in other states. I haven't quite been to every state just yet, but so far I haven't seen anyone else use the Texas turnaround along their frontage roads like here in Texas. Number 3 on the list are the double turns on yellow lights. Now in other states, everyone has seen an intersection where one can make a left turn after yielding to oncoming traffic on a flashing yellow arrow. This is called permissive yellow. Well, Texas takes it to another level. Texas is the only place so far that I've seen where there's a flashing yellow arrow that 2 lanes of traffic can turn onto. When I first saw this, I was hesitant to make that maneuver, as it just didn't feel right and kind of didn't feel safe. But after seeing many of the locals do it, I realized it's just a normal Texas thing. One thing
Here in Houston, we actually have some triple lane ones, and in a suburb of Houston, which is Sugarland, there's some triple lane lefts as well.
I've noticed about intersections where multiple lanes can turn left at the same time is that often drivers ignore the dashed line that guides them onto their lane and will
Yep.
often just turn left into whatever lane they feel like.
Yep.
That's even when they have a green arrow.
Batted
So
drivers.
even after being here for a while, I'd recommend being extra cautious if you choose to turn along with other cars on that double yellow arrow. The other thing I questioned was just how well the car in the outer lane has the visibility to see when the coast is clear to make that turn with how far he is from view of the oncoming traffic. Makes me
Yeah.
wonder what the crash statistics have been on this feature. So far, I've only seen this around the Dallas area, so I'm not sure if other parts of Texas utilize
Houston.
it. Number 4 is the high speed limits. Out in Texas,
Okay.
you're going to encounter the highest speed limits in America, bar none. In fact,
That is the highest speed limit. Like, what is that in kilometers per hour?
I could have sworn we had somewhere in Texas that's 85 miles an hour. I could be mistaken, but and it might depend on the age of this video, but I swore we had 85 miles per hour.
Wait, miles per hour to kph. Like, wait, what was the? That is your speed limit? What?
Not in the city. It's usually mostly rural roads or in between, like in between major cities, connecting cities, but not like in the city.
That is less than our, 130 is our Richtgeschwindigkeit in Germany. It means that what you can do, like, or not should do, but should do even. And that is yet, you have less than that? I don't know how many, wait, let's move it around. How much did I drive already on a German Autobahn once? Yeah, I drove that like on a German Autobahn once. Not for a long time, like for a few seconds, but that is crazy. That is crazy. Only 80 per hour.
I thought he was impressed by the fact that it was 80 per hour, but I didn't realize he thought it was too slow. I mean, honestly, I don't think people really need to be going much more than 80. Well, I go 85 quite often, to be honest, and I do it in the city. So I get what he's saying. 85, I wouldn't say it's always safe to do it, and it's technically illegal to do it. but there are stretches of the highway where the majority of the people are going about 85 miles per hour, even though it's probably only like 60, 65 mile per hour zone.
Texas 130 toll road in the Austin area has the highest posted speed limit
Okay.
in the
85
Americas.
See, I wasn't crazy. 85. I knew it.
It's
only
at a whopping 85 miles per
in the
hour.
Americas. So what, in the Americas? So the whole double continent? That's the Americas, right? That's crazy.
The speed limit was raised this high to encourage through travelers to use the toll road over Interstate 35 through the city, though it has had limited results. Out in West Texas, you can find speed limits up to 80 miles per hour on Interstate 10 headed towards El Paso.
Wait,
As well as
otherwise you always have 60 miles per hour? Or what? I mean, that is probably like 100 kilometers per hour. That is so slow.
some other rural parts of Texas. This makes sense as there is absolutely nothing out there.
It may be slow, but it's typically going to be gauged by the amount of traffic to those. So I don't have any clue whatsoever, like what the traffic's like in Germany. I have no idea. I've never watched a video on it. But if you're in an urban city, not out in the suburbs, like for instance Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, there are so many cars on our freeways and highways, like all throughout the day. It's not even like rush hour is really, really, really bad, but pretty much like sun up to sundown, there's traffic. And so going the really high speeds, a lot of the times it's not even possible just because the traffic's not even moving fast enough for you to travel at those speeds.
For miles and
Yeah,
miles.
why not have a higher speed limit then if there is nothing out there? I mean, you know, if there's nothing out there and you have, as shown here, like 3 lanes, that's so much potential to just have like a 200 speed limit or something like that.
If you like this video, please hit a like. And if you want to see more of me, I would love if you subscribe. Thank you so much for that.
Most other interstates
I'm gonna give myself a shout out too. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. And then to his question about being out in the rural areas like in the panhandle of Texas and things like that, and there not being a lot of traffic, even if you could go those speeds, the other thing you have to consider is because I've driven from Houston through Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada to California to San Francisco. And when you're in all that desert land, man, sometimes it's like 105, 110, 115 degrees. And so if you're going 100 miles an hour down the road, the heat from the road on your tires, I can't imagine that would be real good. I mean, I think it's like a high risk of having a blowout. So that's the other thing you have to consider too. It's not just about like how much traffic is out there. Those stretches of road, you're in extreme heat. Not to mention that wildlife could potentially come out of nowhere, run in front of you, and then that's a whole nother story. So I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, there's a lot of other factors. It's not just the openness of the road that's being considered.
reach 75 miles per hour between cities in Texas such as I-35, I-20, and I-45, whereas in most other states you're likely to see 65 or 70 miles per hour at max on rural interstates. One thing
Absolutely
that will shock
insane.
you is the speed
Absolutely insane.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
You know, I drove around a little bit in Europe, and I mean, of course, Germany has the highest with no speed limits at some point, but even other countries in Europe have always their 130, which is already more than those 80 miles per hour, right? Or Poland has 140. I mean, yeah, Baltics have like 90 or something, but there are quite some countries that have like way higher speed limits than America does.
limit on rural 2-lane roads. Texas posts them at 70
Of course, all what I said right now was in kilometers per hour, not in miles per hour. I don't know exactly how much that would be.
miles per hour. Now, to be honest, 70 is probably the speed that a lot of drivers move at along these roads, even when it's posted at 55 or 60 miles per hour.
Yep.
But when you're about to pull onto a 2-lane road, just that wind that you feel as a car blows past you, probably doing something like 75 or 80 is wild. I probably wouldn't risk driving on one of these roads
You would have so much fun on the Autobahn.
at night, so I've only done it during the day at this point.
When I made that trip, in some of the more rural areas where the speed limits were pretty high, night was scary. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times deer were just out in front of us. Like I'm fortunate that there wasn't a lot of traffic, because I had to slam on my brakes more than once to avoid hitting any deer. So that at nighttime is definitely riskier.
Then there's the urban freeway speed limits. Usually the speed limits on interstates or other freeways is lower than in the rural areas due to the higher traffic counts and more frequent entry.
Is he in Houston?
Or other freeways is lower than in the rural areas due to the higher traffic counts and more frequent entrance and exit points. Well, when I first got to Dallas and hopped on the Central...
That's crazy. Look at that. They're all streets?
Yeah, that's
That
Dallas.
is absolutely insane. I've never seen something like that.
Expressway, I saw something that I hadn't seen anywhere.
We do that, we have maybe one bridge over an autobahn, and then we have mostly like I don't know, like looking like a flower or like a
roundabout.
thing.
It's the exits that turn off. So it makes me wonder if he's going to show Houston, because where the Beltway and I-10 meet is absolutely insane. And then maybe he'll cover this too. There's a stretch of I-10 from the Beltway to about 610 is 25, 28 lanes, something like that. It's like the widest in the world. Well, I think China might have one that surpassed us by like 1 lane or something, but it's definitely the widest in the US here in Houston.
What is the thing that it brings you luck if you have 4 leaves on it? This thing.
Else, a 70 mile per hour posted speed limit on a busy urban freeway. Yep, that's right. 70 miles per hour is the speed limit on one of the busiest freeways in Dallas. Locals take
that's crazy. That's crazy. In a city, that's crazy.
Speed limit seriously too, and treat it more like a minimum speed sign rather than a maximum.
Pretty
if
much.
you come to Dallas for the first time, I recommend you staying in one of the 2 right lanes. At number 5, we have I-69. I-69. Gotta love this highway. But in this case, not the full or the main I-69, but I-69C. What's so unique about this route? Well, I-69C is the only C route on the interstate highway system. I-35 splits off into I-35E and I-35W right here in Texas, and again in Minnesota, but nowhere else besides Texas is an interstate split into 3 routes: I-69E, I-69C, and I-69W.
Interesting.
I didn't know it was split in 3. The stretch of it that comes through Houston is actually 59 in Houston, so it's both 59 and 69. But yeah, I didn't realize it was split 3 ways.
East, Central, and West. I-69.
Interesting.
Wait, and that here is then probably, that looks very Mexican or like very Spanish. Nuevo Laredo. Okay, so that's like literally to the border to Mexico.
Yep.
You have a town called Corpus Christi, so Body of Christ? That's crazy. Why Corpus Christi?
These routes are branches of the future NAFTA superhighway I-69 that will theoretically exist one day between Texas and Michigan. Texas is working hard building its part.
It's crazy how long they are. Look at that. Look at that, how long this interstate is. I don't know, that are a few thousand kilometers.
Texas and Michigan. Texas is working hard building its part, but don't expect to see movement from nearby states Louisiana nor Mississippi anytime in the next few decades. I-69C heads down to the Rio Grande Valley area around McAllen and crosses over into Mexico via US 281. I had a chance to visit this area earlier this year in June, and Texas has definitely got a lot of construction going on here.
We always have freaking construction here in Houston on the freeways. Like, my entire life, there has not been some section of the freeway that's under construction. And it's like, it's never ending, because once they finish one portion of it, there's another portion that has to get done, and it's just never ending. Of course, it's improvements, but the headache you have to go through during the transition is never fun.
Other states, these highways would have probably just been given 3-digit auxiliary numbers, but here in Texas, they march to the beat of their own drum.
So what I see so far is that in Texas, driving is a little bit more fun than in the other states, at least from what he says. Higher speed limits, very nice highways even through cities, even more, splits in lanes, for example. So is it maybe just a state for car lovers? Could we say that?
Kind of going off of what he's asking or suggesting. When I did drive I've driven all the way to Florida as well. So I've driven East Coast to West Coast. And Texas does actually have some of the best freeways and highways that I've experienced. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't some other stretches of the country that had some nice roads as well, but we definitely have, I think, slightly more advanced in regards to like what he was mentioning at the beginning of the video with the frontage roads or feeders and the U-turns. And I know that they have done studies on our freeways for other countries. Like they'll model what we're doing here in Houston specifically for other countries or other regions of the US that are maybe doing like a full overhaul of what they currently have and trying to bring it up to be more modern.
Number 6 on the list, we have super wide highways. Now, if you haven't heard already, Texas has built the world's widest highway in the Houston
Interesting.
area. This is
Here we
known
go.
as the Katy Freeway,
Yep.
which carries Interstate 10 between the suburban city of Katy and downtown Houston. At its widest point, the Katy Freeway reaches a whopping 26 travel lanes, which includes frontage
What?
road lanes.
Okay, so I wasn't too far off. I thought it was 25 to 28, so 26 lanes. Yeah. And it's still not enough because it's always jam-packed.
The Katy Freeway reaches a whopping 26 travel lanes, which includes
What?
frontage road lanes.
Just to put this in perspective, a normal German Autobahn has 2 to 3 lanes. Then at some points we have like 4, maybe 5 lanes. And that is already like, I don't know, probably have like one Autobahn that has like over, 100 meters or something, like 100 yards, I think, in American units, like 6 lanes. And those have 4 times that and 2 more. They have 26 lanes. That is absolutely unheard of in Germany. That is, and your lanes, I also heard in another video, are even thicker or way wider because you have way bigger cars than the German lanes. That is absolutely insane.
Yep.
and express lanes down the center of the highway. Now, the Katy Freeway has been much maligned and criticized by some.
That is not a highway, right? That are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines maybe.
For being extremely.
But that's only one side of it. You're only counting this side of it. There's equal on the other side. And then it also includes the feeder road or the frontage road. So yeah, when you count all of that, it's 26.
Overbuilt and inducing additional travel demand in the area, a concept that we'll discuss in a later video. But the wide highways in Texas doesn't end at the Katy. While in most states it's rare to see a freeway with more than 4 general purpose lanes on each side for a long distance, Texas has plenty of freeways that match or exceed this capacity. Again, in Houston, I-69, the Southwest Freeway, and US 280, the Northwest Freeway, both boast a massive amount of travel lanes that make Atlanta's downtown connector look like just another highway. And not to be totally left out, you do encounter some unusually wide highways in the DFW area, such as I-35E in certain sections, and the I-635 loop. But overall, Houston is not only the king of massive highways in Texas, but also the United States.
But what I see here is
I know my things. I mentioned a lot of that already. So we do have the largest ones here in Houston in the entire country.
Is not only the king of massive highways in Texas, but also the United States.
But what I see here, it's the color of the highways is totally different from what we have in Europe. I don't know, do you not use asphalt? That looks a little bit more like beton or something like this.
Concrete. Might use asphalt on less used roads or the longer distance between cities. And as those keep pushing out more and more and more, and they get reconstructed over time, the asphalt goes away and becomes concrete. So the small towns will be asphalt in the beginning. Like for instance, the drive from Houston to Austin, you didn't have to get very far outside of Houston, maybe like Cypress area. or a little bit beyond that, and you would hit asphalt. And then most of it would be asphalt from there almost all the way to Austin until you're just maybe like 20, 30 miles out. Now that stretch from Houston to Austin is majority concrete and far less asphalt because the need for more advanced roads keeps growing, and these small towns are expanding and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so that gap from Houston to Austin or Houston to Dallas or San Antonio or whatever, that gap is obviously the same distance in miles, but the gap as far as like how the cities are growing closer and like further and further out, that gap is narrowing.
What do you use for your highways? Because ours are like pitch black, like totally black, and yours are more like beige.
For number 7, we revisit a feature that's associated with the frontage road. Recall how frontage roads serve as sort of
Yeah, also, it looks way more beige, you know? We have not even, you know, even this is not really black. Ours are pitch black, like totally black.
So this is asphalt here on the sides. Now, one of the other reasons it may not appear as black is the heat, the Texas heat. So in the beginning, when they first put this asphalt down and it's brand new, it's typically black. But over time, as the sun dries it out and dries out the tar, and it becomes more of just the rock and less of the tar, the glue that kind of binds it together, the more it dries out, it kind of turns to more of a dark gray than a black, unless they come back over and put fresh tar over it every couple years. So the center area, this is all concrete. The frontage roads here, they appear to be asphalt, but this is probably a little bit more rural. If it's in the city, the feeder road or the what do he call it, the frontage road is probably also going to be concrete. So just depends on where you are in the state.
You know, even this is not really black. Ours are pitch black, like totally black.
Access road that runs alongside the main highway. Well, in some cases, the good folks of Texas just don't feel like waiting for their exit to get off the highway and onto that frontage road. Like you can see this driver doing here in Austin off I-35.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I know where this is. So he said Austin and I-35. Like, I think I actually know where that's at.
Traffic. I'm going to make my own exit. This is what they call a Texit. Texits
Texit.
don't only apply for getting off the highway and onto the frontage road, but you may also occasionally find Texans driving off the frontage road and onto the main highway. You can usually tell where a Texit is common by looking for a beaten or worn path alongside the highway. Use the Texit at your own risk. At number 8 are fire lane markings. When you go into a parking lot in Texas, you're going to see something that you don't really see in other states. You're going to see these strange red painted lines that sort of outline where you can and can't drive and where you can and can't park. These are fire lanes too.
It's so interesting. That is like totally different than what we have in Germany. Let me pull it up here. Autobahn. Yeah, Autobahn. I think should like images. Here we see it. Like ours are very here. That is a good picture. Ours are just unbelievably black, and those are, you know, there are way more black ones. And yours are very, I don't know, very beige.
To denote the restricted areas for fire trucks and other emergency vehicles. Now, in other states, this is sort of an understood thing that you'll rarely find actually painted around the parking lot, at least not on this scale. However, in Texas, every parking lot, no matter how large or how small, usually has these red painted fire lines all over them. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I think it's pretty cool that Texas explicitly shows drivers where they're allowed to and
that's
not
cool.
allowed to drive in the parking lots. Maybe other states should adopt this Texas habit. At number 9, we have the FM or farm to market highways. If you drive around Texas, you'll notice the typical hierarchy of highways.
There we go. There's Houston. We got a lot of FM roads. FM 1960 is one of the main ones.
You have the interstate highways at the top, which Texas has decided to do their own thing and label it as IH35, for example, rather than just saying I-35 like everybody else. U.S. highways are still called U.S. highways like all the other states. Texas uses this square-shaped shield to denote their state highways, and they also operate on their own program by calling them SH-130, for example, rather than just saying State Route 130 or Texas 130 like the other states would. And under that, they have yet another highway called the Farm to Market Roads, or FM for short. Farm to Market Roads are highways that are maintained by the Texas DOT and were built primarily to serve rural parts of the state. They gave these rural areas paved 2-lane roads and helped connect some of the more isolated parts of the state with the rest of its highways, giving ranchers and farmers a better way to get their goods.
This looks like you might be in Galveston here. Farm to market, I think it originated as farm to market, but there's a lot of those now in the big cities, you know, like Houston, we've got quite a few of them. But they just never changed the name, obviously. They just kept that FM on there. But yeah, I'm sure that's why, like, I'm agreeing with him that that's how they originated the name.
To the market. In a few areas, you might see RM routes or ranch to market routes, but these basically serve the same purpose and are part of the same system. Over time, as some towns grew, some of these FM routes gained additional lanes, and some even upgraded to freeways. So basically, when you
1960, that's what I was talking about. But where on 1960 is this? Burlington. So this is Willowbrook area. So Sam's, the mall should be Willowbrook Mall right there. So I worked at that mall for many, many years. And this whole stretch right here looks completely different now than what it appears here. And I worked in one of these two buildings also. Yeah, I know exactly where this is.
Good thing, I think, in America that you have so much more space to build another lane, because, I mean, of course, like, if you drive through a forest, this would be also possible. But again, in Germany, so many rules, regulations, that you can't build there because, you know, it's maybe a protection area. Like, from my feeling, everything is a protection area somehow. Yeah, so, and mostly, of course, in the city, they're just buildings. You can't build there.
The FM shield for a route in Texas, you can expect it to be at least 2 lanes and paved, regardless of how remote of a part of the state that you're in. And the final Texas roadway oddity that you will see in the state is the sheer number of loop highways. Now, loop highways are certainly not unique to Texas.
Oh, cool. Oh yeah, we would call this a ring.
Arterial beltways, and various other types of loop highways.
Yeah, we would call this like a ring. In München, Munich, there is the Münchner Ring, so the Ring of Munich. There are, I think, even 2 rings, like more inner ring and more outer ring.
That's how it is in Houston. So our inner ring is 610 loop. Then the next loop is going to be Beltway 8. The one after that is not a raised freeway, but it's technically a loop, is 1960/Highway 6. And then the newest one is 99. So it's like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
For the United States and even the rest of the world. However, Texas probably has more cities with loop roads than...
Yeah, you can see this here clearly. For example, here, this Fort Worth, you can already see the ring. I think pretty clearly, right? Here also Antonia, you can already see the ring really, really good. And here also in Houston, you can clearly see the ring. So yeah, I think you can absolutely greatly see that. For example, here Albuquerque, you don't see any ring.
The other state. Houston, of course, is king here.
There we go. So 610, Beltway 8, and the other one I'm talking about is this right here, Highway 6/1960. But 610, Beltway 8, and 99 are all like a raised freeway highway, and 1960/Highway 6 is mostly a surface road, so it's probably why it's not highlighted here. But yeah, we've technically got 4 of them.
You don't see any ring.
The other state. Houston, of course, is king here.
Wow,
with
yeah.
Not 1, not 2, but 3 loops around the city. Dallas has a few looping highways, as does San Antonio, with multiple beltways. San Antonio sort of looks like a baby Houston in its layout. And the state capital of Austin is, of course, way behind the curve, but does plan to eventually have a full tolled beltway around the city. But where Texas stands out is how so many smaller towns have loop roads. In most cases, these aren't interstates. Some aren't even freeways, but they do serve as loops, usually carrying a loop designation on the state route sign. Waco, Laredo.
But where's the ring? Where's the loop there?
Loop designation on the state route sign. Waco.
I mean, where's the... You know, that's not really a loop. It's not closed.
It's mostly a loop.
Laredo, Tyler, Amarillo, Odessa, El Paso, Lubbock, and more. Some of these are simple 2-lane roads, while others are full-blown freeways. No other state has built loops around so many of its towns like Texas, and they are not done yet. There are several more loops, either under construction or being upgraded
No surprise.
as we speak. And
I have never done that, but I should probably just drive like one time exactly just the one loop. That would be probably cool.
all right, guys,
When I was like 18, 19 years old, my buddy Chris, oh my God, I just blanked on his last name. Anyways, Chris had just gotten a brand new Mustang and he was just itching to take it for a drive. And he's like, you want to ride with me around the 610 loop? And I was like, sure. And so we did the full loop in his Mustang. I always remember that.
I'm exactly just the one loop. That would be probably cool.
all right, guys, there you have it. 10 Texas traffic oddities that I encountered while traveling around the state. Have you been to Texas and experienced any of these things? Have you seen some of them in other states? Let me know.
I absolutely love that video because it gives you a little bit more into that. You know, everybody knows here in Europe that America is a car culture, right? It's a car country. So, but to see more of those differences and why maybe cars or having a car is also so much more convenient, despite that you have way worse public transport than we have in Europe, of course, is that, you know, driving around is just pretty convenient with so many, you know, so many loops, so many wide roads, and especially in Texas here, what is of course very simple because Texas is the biggest state of all, if you don't count Alaska, of course. But I don't think so many.
I was just about to call him out, but he recognized that Alaska's the biggest. But a lot of people get that mistaken and thinking that Texas is the biggest.
Many people living in Alaska, so we can maybe not count them. Yeah, so it makes absolutely sense that in Texas you have just so much good opportunity to drive because people need to drive to get from A to B because Texas is, I don't know, how much bigger, like 1.5 times bigger or 2 times as big as Germany? Something like that. I hope you have a great and wonderful day and we see each other in the next video. Bye. There's
So one of my favorite memes about Houston is Houston is 1 hour away from Houston. And that's how it is sometimes. You could literally drive an hour and you've only made it maybe like halfway across town or you know, 3/4 across town. Just depends on what time of day, what freeway you're on, what day of the week it is school in session, is it summer? There's a lot of different factors, but Houston is a massive city and our freeways and roads just keep expanding and growing with the city. They're getting ready to undertake another massive project here. There's a part of I-45 that passes through downtown Houston and it's called Pierce Elevated. And it's impossible for them to widen it. So they're getting ready to redirect it to behind downtown. But behind downtown is already I-10 and I-59/69. And so they're going to reroute 45 behind downtown. And so all 3 freeways are going to merge behind downtown on the east side. And that's going to be a huge undertaking. I mean, they're doing eminent domain and they're tearing down blocks and blocks and blocks of buildings on the east side of downtown just to accommodate that project. I'm not crazy about the idea of all 3 of these freeways and highways being in the same place. I think it's going to be a lot of congestion. There's a portion of it that goes underground and that stretch already has really bad flooding issues. So I don't know. I'll be surprised to see if it works out the way they are envisioning it. It could be cool, could be a total headache. I think it's going to take 20 years to do it. So yeah, we'll see if it's done in my lifetime. We'll see. But anyways, if you guys are new here, like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the things. If you want to see more from Chris Reacts, I will have the link to his video in my video description. So you can go over and check out more from his channel. Chris, if you happen to come across this, shout out from another reactor here in the US. If you ever happen to visit Texas, Houston specifically, don't hesitate to reach out, man. And I will see you guys in the next video. Later.
Reacting with Melvin, it's a vibe you love. From music to fails, it's all coming from above. Food, travel, music, all in the mix. Get ready for the fun, come get your fix. Reacting with Melvin.